looming trade war between PNG and Fiji. Hela landowners claim Kokopo agreements breached. And Madang police cracking down on student drunks.
This is National EMTV News with Hope Imaka.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. This is Thursday's news. There is a looming trade war with Fiji over its continued blocking of Papua New Guinea's products entering their country. Minister for Trade, Commerce and Industry, Richard Maru, said today that Fiji has been refusing to allow imports like oxen palm, chukai rice and other PNG products into Fiji for over a decade. PNG has given Fiji 14 days to respond favorably before resorting to a trade war.
Minister Maru didn't pull any punches at the media conference today when he slammed Fiji for disrespecting its trade relationship with PNG. He said PNG has allowed Fiji to have a trade surplus in PNG for a long time and trade volumes are increasing. However, Fiji has persistently refused PNG products entering their country.
Fiji needs to reconsider the way it treats PNG in terms of the trading of our tradable goods to Fiji. And if it doesn't, this government will not allow it to go on anymore. We are going to step up and we'll declare an all-out war with Fiji, and we will take measures in the coming weeks. If Fiji thinks they can continue to treat PNG with contempt, disrespect, and treat us very lightly.
Following Minister Maru's talks with Agriculture Minister Tommy Tomskol, PNG will not allow the entry of Fiji poultry products into PNG. Minister Maru said Fiji's refusal of PNG products into Fiji also ignores the Melanesian Free Trade Agreement that Melanesian spearhead group countries concluded this year.
The issue is not about the market. The issue is the principle. If we give you an open market, you must also give us an open market.
He said if countries like Australia and Singapore with higher biosecurity measures can allow the entry of PNG's tin product oxen palm, Minister Maru cannot see why Fiji has an issue with it.
My department will write a letter to the minister expressing our concern and telling them if they don't respond within the next 14 days, PNG will look at serious trade measures against Fiji. I don't want a trade war. We've never wanted one, but how long are we going to wait for them?
Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
More than 7,000 bags of coffee and cocoa are still on a ship at Lae's main wharf. This was the concern raised by coffee and cocoa farmers from Te Waiasiasi and Kaboom district in Morobe.
Bags of coffee and cocoa from Wasu in Te Waiasiasi district were loaded onto Lady Looming, a Morobe Coast Shipping Services vessel. The ship left Wasu on the 21st of July this year and was supposed to reach Voko Point in Lae on the 26th of July. However, Molok Terry, a coffee farmer from Te Waiasiasi district from Union Coit Cooperative, said Lady Looming was not at the wharf when the farmers got there.
Now, this ship go down long, PNG port. Na PNG port mi peno siya because mi pa man lo place lo. How ba mi pa barren gym na how ba disla mi siya mem local port so mi pa say but PNG emolo wasi ship say come na o siya safety and big plus something long hapa so mi pa like painem we blo mi pa mahatro.
Lady Looming is now at the Lae's main wharf, making it more difficult for the farmers to unload their coffee and cocoa. According to Molok Terry, the delay arose after a supposed agent demanded that the freight payment be made into another account separate from Morobe Coast Shipping, the company tasked with the management of the shipping service.
Okay, bien ken autogosem you plan on a payment go lo Morobe Coast Shipping. Na time mi email him this go one time all exporters. Only no allow me plan lo buy me by paying freight.
Officer from Morobe Coast Shipping Services said they were not aware of the circumstances behind the delay. A response by the CEO was not made available by the time of this broadcast. Union Coit Cooperative sells the products to international importers in Austria, USA and Korea. The delay is currently affecting the reputation of PNG coffee and cocoa exporters to sell to Korea. Meanwhile, PNG Port said the bags will be unloaded today. Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Lae.
Landowners in the PNG LNG project of Hela province expressed their dissatisfaction to the government delegation in Hides 4 yesterday. Landowner leader and businessman Larry Andagali said the government has breached the UBSA and LBBSA signed in Kokopo in 2009. The landowners say the peaceful protest will continue until the government returns next week with a specific timeline of all outstanding payments and projects.
Frustrated Hela landowners gathered at Hides 4 yesterday to meet the government delegation. Men, women and children turned up in numbers, expressing concerns of delayed benefits and impact projects committed by the government.
World-class hospital to be built in Hela. Guess what project? I'm stopping here, so Hela must light up.
They called on their provincial leaders to do their best for the people and province.
On protester, on like a High Bex Fund, IDG Fund. Are you aware of this? What are you doing to bring the benefits to the people of Hela?
Landowners believe the UBSA and LBBSA agreements signed in Kokopo have been breached.
So this agreement was not honored. So government in breach. Because 30 years, this agreement we will make him 30 years here. Why we will not come here and passing this project again? So me like passing this banish. When money blow people go out there, me like passing.
Addressing the landowners, the government delegation maintained that all benefits are safe with the central bank and MRDC, while others were held back by courts.
No government calling this money play blah. No government. Money and stop inside long this agreement you sign in Kokopo and stop yet. Side royalty na development levy and me sit on top of money na stop money no go out yet.
Responding to some of the concerns raised in the landowner petition, Petroleum and Energy Minister Nixon Duban said payments will be done to genuine landowners.
Now we starting final determination will look some money. Final determination will like 2013-14 this la process will start. Now close to 90% blow over the name will apply and start finish. Court you look at them this la process will make him landowner identification. So, people by asking, Judge,
a government delegation will return next week for further discussions with the landowners. Landowner leaders also want a specific timeline documented by the government showing when and what demands will be met. Delhi Waigeno, National EMTV News.
Gulf Governor Hela Kavo questioned the Prime Minister in Parliament today over reports of ExxonMobil wanting to purchase Interoil shares in the Papua Gulf LNG project. Governor Kavo said that the purchase of Interoil shares by ExxonMobil would create a monopoly in the hydrocarbon gas industry. He asked if the government would be able to purchase some of Interoil shares to allow the people of PNG to benefit from the country's second LNG project. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill explained that the state had learned valuable lessons from the PNG LNG project and that past mistakes would not be repeated.
Gulf Governor Hela Kavo asked the question following recent reports on ExxonMobil move to purchase Interoil. He also asked if the government would be able to be a bidder for Interoil stakes.
ExxonMobil and Oil States holds the biggest shares in the PNG LNG project. Interoil holds the biggest shares in the Papua Gulf LNG project. With the buy-off, Mr. Speaker, ExxonMobil alone will hold almost about 60 to 70% of the hydrocarbon project developments in the country. When ExxonMobil buys off Interoil, it also buys off all the PPL licenses. If these transactions take place, the issue of monopoly by one major developer in this country will become a big concern to us Papua New Guineans.
Prime Minister O'Neill responded saying that it would not cause a monopoly but create competition, and that the government would not be able to purchase Interoil shares due to the high bidding cost.
The reality is that we cannot afford it. But we will, as I've put on both ExxonMobil and Total, we have put them on notice that our government will exercise all its rights under the Oil and Gas Act, meaning that we are entitled to 22.5% of the shares as soon as we have a development proposal put to us by the operator of the fields. Today, we have not received a development proposal yet. Mr. Speaker, the licenses for many of these fields, including Penyang, Elk Antelope, is due to be renewed over the course of next 12 months. I've given notice to our officials that they will write to both the Total and ExxonMobil that no license will be renewed until we get a full development proposal to government. Mr. Speaker, we must protect our interest of our country and, of course, the interest of our shareholders, stakeholders, particularly landowners and the provincial government.
The Prime Minister also added that the government would maximize its shares by making sure all investors comply with laws under the Oil and Gas Act.
We cannot continue to afford to not exercise our rights under the law. As a result of not doing that, Mr. Speaker, we must learn from the first project. PNG LNG project, our shareholders were supposed to be 22.5%. In fact, it has been reduced down to 19% because previously we did not exercise our rights. As a result of that, our value of our shares was on a decline. We will not allow that to happen. In the next projects, we will make sure that we maximize the returns and the benefits that will come to the government and, of course, to our people and the landowners as a result of those negotiations.
Adelaide Sirox Kari, National, EMTV News.
Lay MP Lujaya Kuza called for clarification on the resumption of universities, and Madang police concerned on the high number of students consuming alcohol. Those stories and more after the break. Welcome back. Cybercrime offenders in Papua New Guinea will now be prosecuted under a new law that was passed today in Parliament. Communications Minister Jimmy Miringtoro previously stated that a key objective of developing a cybercrime policy was to have a standalone legislation that would criminalize various acts as cybercrime offenses. The Cybercrime Code 2016 will deal with crimes and offenses committed against individuals, the public, government agencies or corporate entities through the use of information and communication technology. A situation report on the resumption of universities in the country was sought by Lay MP Lujaya Kuza during a question time in Parliament today. She asked recently appointed Minister for Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, Francis Marus, to update the House on the university resumptions.
Member for Lay Lujaya Kuza during question time today asked the Minister for Higher Education, Science, Research and Technology to update the House on universities resuming and the current efforts for reconciliation between Enga and Southern Highlands students.
Involving two groups has been resolved. We'd like to hear that update from the Honourable Minister before the rest of Papua New Guinea returns to classes. I'd like to participate as the neutral body in bringing stakeholders to the table for consultative meetings.
Minister Francis Marus responded saying that the governors of both provinces had started the talks in their provinces before reconciliation occurs at Lay Unitec.
There's been a dialogue between my ministry and the governor of Enga and the governor of Southern Islands. I would like to thank them for the leadership that they are providing now to get those involved in the situation to find a way forward by getting to a understanding between themselves first and then moving over to Unitec. The university councils have openly invited them to come. They'll be part and parcel of all this ceremony going forward.
Kauza also asked if the government had looked into how the students will be living on campus after structures like the mass had been blazed.
Assessment of damages and maintenance bill at the University of Technology, an on-the-ground assessment of just physically looking at what's happening in the dormitories. Light fittings are missing, water faucets are missing, damages to the dormitory. How do we expect the students to go back to classes when their living conditions there in the dormitory are not up?
Minister Maros assured the House that the ministry had spoken with the universities and necessary structures will be in place.
Council are now working on assessing those damages, and they have assured me, and I would like to assure Parliament and the people of Papua New Guinea that they're controlling the situation. They will make sure that all the places are suitable, especially the living conditions and the mess. They will find an alternative, especially in Unitec, Mr. Deputy Speaker. They will find a place that will temporarily shelter students that will, in terms of messing. So everything will be in order. That's the assurance from the Deputy Vice Chancellor.
Minister Maros also told the House that UOG had resumed and Lay Unitec and UPNG will follow soon.
Goroka, University of Goroka has resumed class on Monday, and at the end of this month, Unitec will come, and then the first week of next month, which is September, University of Papua New Guinea will come.
Adelaide Sirox Kari, National, EMTV News.
Madang police have arrested a lot of students lately drinking homebrew in public as well as in the school grounds. Just yesterday, police caught up with another group of students, this time from the Tuspab Secondary School, drinking homebrew in the school's hall. Rachel Shise reports.
More students are getting locked up for drinking homebrew in public and misbehaving. Just yesterday, another group of students from the Tuspab Secondary School got picked up for drinking homebrew while they were still within the school grounds.
Those boys were rounded up and brought to the police station, and we will later confirm how many were arrested for consuming homebrew inside the Tuspab Secondary School hall.
2 male students were locked up for having homebrew in their possession, and the others were released. Similar arrests have been made for Divine Word University students and even primary school students recently.
These days, the children seem to think that, they have all the right, but, we've got to be all the time cautious as parents also to assist and advise our children from abstaining from all this.
Penalties for drinking homebrew is higher than that from drinking factory-made alcohol, and the charges are the same for everyone, regardless of whether you're a student.
It can go up to as far as 500 kina fine, or you can be in prison for up to 3 months. So, the court have that discretion and that liberty to make those, hand down those decisions.
Superintendent Singura is now appealing to the students in Madang to concentrate on securing their future.
My appeal to students is to refrain and get your priorities right. You are going to get an education in school, so don't abuse it.
Rachel Shise, National EMTV News, Madang.
A body of a man burnt in a vehicle was found early this morning along the Taurama Road leading into the 1RPIR Army Barracks in Port Moresby. Police are yet to confirm the incident and identify the deceased, but eyewitnesses say he must have been killed and burnt outside and later put in a car wreck beside the road. Eyewitnesses say his body was taken by the St. John's ambulance to the Port Moresby General Hospital morgue. Former Land Secretary Romili Kilapat was allowed a 2,000 kina cash bail by the National Court in Port Moresby. This bail is an upgrade of the committal court bail. The bail was granted on the grounds that applicant Kilapat was not a threat to the community, and presiding judge Justice Bernard Sakura was satisfied that Kilapat's guarantors were present in court.
The bail conditions include 6 orders. The defendant is not supposed to leave the National Capital District or Central Province without advising the courts, and his guarantors have to pay 500 kina each, and there should not be any communication between Kilapat and state witnesses. Meanwhile, the other 2 co-accused, Vavine Walo and Simeon Andrew, are also on a temporary bail. Their bail was granted upon the court's discretion and not according to the Bail Act because their lawyer was not ready to make the application. A proper application will be made next Thursday. The 3 defendants are facing misappropriation and conspiracy charges. Police alleged that in September 2015, the 3 conspired and applied to use over 280,000 kina, money belonging to the Lands Reform Trustee account. They were committed to stand trial at the National Court after the Waigani Komito Court found enough evidence to support the allegation. Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
The National Court today dropped a murder charge to manslaughter for a man from Central Province. The court found that Russell Yahena, the accused, did not intend to kill the deceased back in 2011 at 8 Mile Settlement outside Port Moresby. According to the state's evidence, a fight broke out between the accused and his wife, and the deceased intervened to stop the fight when Yahena hit him with a table to his head that killed him. Yahena is still behind bars at Bomana Prison and is awaiting for his sentencing. The court heard that Yahena was drunk at the time of the incident. He came home and found out that the family cat ate his dinner. He got mad and fought his wife when the deceased intervened and got killed. And now looking at our finance news, the kina opened unchanged at $0.3155 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3080 US, $0.3964 Australian dollars, $0.2723 euro and 30.84 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, coffee closed lower while gold, cocoa and copper closed the day higher. Palm oil closed higher while crude oil and copper closed the day lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 37 points lower, the ASX is trading at 9 points lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 8 points lower. National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. A patient at Lae's Angao General Hospital is making a special appeal to donor agencies, both national and international, to assist the hospital with new equipment. Ruth Sagori says she has seen that the Angao Hospital is the best in the country. However, it lacks the vital equipment that it needs to assist its medical practitioners to do their job effectively.
Ruth Sogori was admitted at the Angao General Hospital 4 weeks ago to undergo an operation. During these 4 weeks that she spent at the hospital, she observed that doctors and nurses of the hospital are willing to help their patients, but are not able to do so without the proper equipment.
Operating theater blumipla inogat air condition. Air condition lo operating theater and bagarap, 1 platasol which also working 1 patient at a time.
3 weeks ago, 9 women who were admitted in the same ward as her were supposed to undergo operations. But the doctor had to cancel the operation and discharge them as the air conditioning in the operating theater was not working.
Now suppose local operation is la Wednesday. That's all theater in a walk. I mean, air conditioning in a walk now.
Angao General Hospital Chief Executive Officer Dr. Christopher Kenny has said there are problems with the cooling room due to lapses in maintenance over the years, but they are now working to fix the problem.
At the present, we have the cooling, the air conditioning, operating theaters, 80% repaired. So they're 80% of what they should be right now. So we have that position already addressed. We are working to fix the other 20%, and that should be done by the end of the month.
Ruth is calling on the business community in Leh, stakeholders, NGOs, the government and other donor agencies to assist the hospital. She believes with the availability of right equipment, doctors and nurses can be able to assist their patient. Dr. Kenny has said the hospital management will discipline any medical practitioners if the management finds any evidence of failure on the part of its medical officers. The CEO welcomes donor agencies who are willing to donate new equipment to the hospital, but said the hospital will not accept second-hand equipment from other hospitals. Adding the hospital has already put a restriction on second-hand equipment.
90% of the material someone gives you is non-usable, and it costs Angao more money.
Matalubis, National EMTV News, Leh.
Leh's Angao General Hospital Chief Executive Officer Dr. Christopher Kennyhurst said the hospital is going through a major refurbishment to make it friendlier for patients. His comments follow concerns the hospital has been getting from the public over its services as well as the state of development at the hospital.
Angao is probably stronger now than you've seen it in many of your lifetimes, because we're refurbishing, we're making it new, and we're bringing new services online in Angao every day. You see structures here. You see a new portable. You have a new operating room theater going up here that we will probably use for maternity when it becomes available. We have another new ward going up. We have 3 additional wards in the back that we put operational in late 2015.
A Chinese medical team from the Guangdong province in China visited Port Moresby General Hospital today. They donated medical kits and equipment to assist in patient care. Eric Harupma with this report.
The medical team, comprising 9 medical specialists from China's Guangdong province, concluded its 5-day assistance mission in PNG on Thursday, providing free medical service to the local residents. The 9 professors carried out their work in both Eastern Islands Provincial Hospital and Port Moresby General Hospital. Altogether, they have diagnosed 237 outpatients and 55 inpatients. This is the 5th time for a Guangdong medical delegation to visit PNG.
These professors are mainly specialists in traditional Chinese medicine, cardiovascular, oral health, and ONG.
Unlike previous visits, this time they provided additional 8 lectures in the fields of oral health, acupuncture, orthopedic, cardiovascular, endocrinology, and ONG for the local medical officers and nurses besides the free treatments. Since 2012, about 20 medical teams from Guangdong province have visited Pacific Island countries to provide free medical services, warmly welcomed by locals. Present on behalf of the hospital board to receive this medical kit was Director Medical Service Dr. David Mokela. Mr. Mokela thanked the officials and the Chinese government for their strong ties with PNG government through healthcare services. He says this will enhance understanding and strengthen ties for future cooperation in medical field. Eric Harupma, National EMTV News.
Studies indicate that the Kuyawa and Munuwata Islands of Milne Bay are on the verge of being stripped of their food and water resources at the mercy of climate change effects. The SPC, or the South Pacific Community, and the German Agency for International Cooperation found that their problem stemmed from the increase in population over recent years and the eroding shorelines that have limited land area over time.
Climate change advocate Latin Andrihin has been working closely with SPC GIZ to conduct these studies and awareness programs. One only has to walk along the shorelines of Kuyawa Island and Munuwata Island atolls to see the effects of climate change. Although islanders have taken it upon themselves to protect their shorelines by building stone walls barricaded only by fishing nets, Andrihin said they are unaware that deep-rooted customs like the infamous yam planting season is a culprit. During this season, there is a mass harvest of mangrove trees. Their branches apparently are the most resilient to weathering on the island, so they are used to support the crawling yam plant. As a result, the population on the island itself is fast becoming a problem with the receding shorelines. Mangroves are a natural barrier against the tides. Islanders have identified poor academic performance of their children on the island as a driving factor. They believe that if their children had access to better education facilities, the chances of them passing out into tertiary institutions will reduce the number of people left to depend on the island. Survival itself is a daily struggle for islanders whose only source of water are shallow wells, the largest catchments being water tanks only provided in building facilities such as schools. The SPC-GIZ Technical Working Group, therefore, is looking to help salvage what's left of their island's food and water security by first introducing additional crops so they don't completely destroy their mangrove population. Melissa Gaviro, National EMTV News.
And now turning overseas, the United Nations says over 2 million people have no electricity or water in Aleppo, which used to be Syria's economic powerhouse. The Syrian government is intensifying the battle for the key city after rebels broke a siege over the weekend.
Salvo after salvo, they fire at an enemy only yards away. A massive assault, eventually breaking the Syrian regime's siege of eastern Aleppo, deemed all but impossible only a few days ago. Put your hand from here, a fighter instructs a comrade. CNN has exclusively obtained this footage from the front line. In a rare, unified moment, rebels from both moderate and Islamist groups attacked Syrian army positions. Pushing both from inside the besieged part of the city and from rebel-held territory to the west, they overwhelmed the regime's defenses. Opposition activists say up to 7,000 fighters were involved, the lead group formerly under Al-Qaeda's command. They released this drone video showing the extent and the intensity of the battle.
The importance of this battle is we broke the siege. They had us under siege, and now we have them under siege and have cut off their supply line, thank God.
Rather than a ragtag band of rebels, this appears to be a disciplined fighting force. Resting and regrouping near the front line and then chanting, "Our Prophet Muhammad, our commander forever," as they march into battle. Video from inside eastern Aleppo showed civilians cheering the end of the siege. Residents tell CNN many see the hardline Islamist groups as heroes, braving pro-government forces and Russian air power to come to the aid of 300,000 trapped people. But the UN warns, with still no guarantee of humanitarian access, both regime and rebel-held Aleppo may suffer from even more severe shortages than in the past. After their unlikely victory, breaking the Aleppo siege, these rebels now say they will take back all of the city. But the Syrian regime and its allies are hitting back hard, both sides desperate to win Syria's largest city, but threatening to crush it in the process.
Chukai Sports is next. We'll have football, and in Rugby League, the Hunters gear up for the Intra Super Cup finals.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. In football, progressive result for Wednesday and Thursday games in men's division. In Pool A, LFA defeated Kairuru 2-0. LFA again defeating Ramken 8-2, which saw LFA leading the Pool A. In Pool B, MSA is leading the pool with 1 to win against Ogea and Maprik. And in Pool C, Lahi maintained the top spot with 2 wins against Hulupu and Mumeng. The women's division has Wewak leading in Pool A, while Pool B saw LFA leading with a massive 8-0 over Bogia. Normal round-robin games ended today before the start of first quarter final at midday. The PNG Under-20 women's national football team departed today on a 3-week tour of the United States. Head coach Lisa Cole is using the tour to further gauge the strengths and weaknesses of a side that has only had 4 competitive matches ahead of November's World Cup.
The squad arrived in Port Moresby on Wednesday, spending only a night in the capital to regroup. Assistant coach Rachel Waduna had said the team was anxious on travel, but hopeful of putting in good performances whilst on tour. Earlier in the year, head coach Lisa Cole was adamant that the side's improvement lay in how much experience could be gained in a short period of time prior to the World Cup in November.
Experience is so valuable. You can't put any dollar signs on it. If I'm not playing the game, how am I supposed to get good at the game? It seems unrealistic to me. So a league would help a ton, but just as important is consistent training for the players that are at that elite level, and even more important than a league is a youth development system.
Cole will use the trip to finalize her team for the event. Currently, there is a crop of 25, each one of whom are hopeful to make the cut. The team departed this morning via the Philippines, from there heading to the United States, where they will have 7 scheduled matches. Jeremy Moggy, National, EMTV Sports.
Oceania Football Confederation and Papua New Guinea Football Association President David Chung has appealed to all stakeholders to assist the local organizing committee to prepare for the FIFA World Cup by not putting up excessive bills. The challenges the organizing committee is facing at the moment include slow responses from government departments and slow infrastructure development. Chung also pointed out high costs that are beginning to pose a problem, especially from both NGOs and the private sector. There are only 94 days until the start of the tournament. The SP PNG Hunters will travel down to Townsville ahead of their round 26 clash with the Townsville Blackhawks on Saturday afternoon. The Hunters are coming off 3 straight wins at home and will be looking to maintain their winning form with the finals closing in.
The SP-PNG Hunters have to dig deep to continue their winning streak when they go head-to-head with the Townsville Blackhawks. The Hunters left this morning for Cairns after enjoying 3 consecutive home matches and winning all 3.
It's a foot race over the 30. Butler has got the legs.
Hunters coach Michael Murram has retained his winning side from last weekend's win against the top-of-the-table Burleigh Bears, who have dropped to 2nd place. But he has added Philemon Kimisev, Edward Goma and Stagarth Amian in an extended 20-man squad. Following this weekend's match, the Hunters have 2 more games before the finals of the Intra Super Cup 2016. Their final match in round 25 will be a home match against the Sunshine Coast Falcons on the 28th of August. The Hunters currently sit 3rd on the Intra Super Cup ladder, behind the Burleigh Bears and Redcliffe Dolphins. Dion Kombeng, National, EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back. Days away from the inaugural 2016 Export Rugby Championship Grand Final, and the Morobe Hammerheads are preparing for what will be their biggest gig in provincial rugby. Current blindside flanker for the Pukpuks and captain of the Hammerheads, Clifford Valley, says the final showdown will be a huge boost for the Hammerhead debutants who have recently joined the team.
Provincial rugby champions are a title Hammerheads captain Clifford Valley believes his team deserves. Going into the inaugural Export Rugby Championship with a blend of old and new talent, the Morobe Hammerheads have certainly grown over the course of the competition, proving they are worthy contenders for this year's championship.
I think we're lucky to have our 15th competition finish a bit long, so we had less time to prepare for the upcoming 15th Expo.
Going up against New Guinea Island rugby heavyweights, the East New Britain Kais in the semi-finals last weekend was a challenge for the Hammerheads, who were tested by the 7 players in the backline for their speed and endurance, something the Bormas also possess. Apart from polishing up on the scrums and player combinations, Bali says this is the one thing they aim to maintain throughout the entire 80 minutes.
We just have to trust ourselves, the man standing next to me and everyone in the team, just take on the big guys. Doesn't matter the size, just take on them.
Lorraine Guinea, National, EMTV Sports.
That ends Trukai Sports. The weather details when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Your weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Fine weather and cool for Port Moresby, Daru, Kerema and Alatau, and fine weather as well for Popondetta. In the Momasa region, fine although cloudy for Lae, a shower or two for Madang and Wewak, and fine weather as well for Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands, few showers and thunderstorms for Lorengau, some showers and thunderstorms for Kavieng, Kokopo and Rabaul, a shower or two for Kimbe, and few showers as well for Buka. And in the Highlands region, a shower or two, then morning fog for all centres. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours, but first a strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru, including Milne Bay and its islands Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, through Vietes Strait, CSE Islands, also Manus to New Ireland to New Britain and Bougainville. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerema to Yule Island to Hood Point to Samurai Island, and with waters of Manus and its western group of islands seas 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands with waters of Samurai Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, and with waters of New Ireland to East New Britain and Bougainville seas 2 to 2.5 meters. Waters of Finschhafen through Vietes Strait, CSE Islands to Long Island, and with waters of West New Britain seas 2.5 to 3 meters. Ocean forecast for PNG areas. In the Coral Sea, seas rather rough with southeast winds at 20 to 25 knots. At Solomon Seas, seas moderate to rough with southeast winds at 20 to 34 knots. At Bismarck Sea, seas moderate to rough with southeast winds at 20 to 34 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas slight to moderate with southeast to southwest winds at 10 to 20 knots. Now recapping our main stories for tonight. Looming trade tussle between PNG and Fiji. Hela landowners claim Kokopo agreements breached, and Madang police cracking down on student drunks. And that's the news, sports and weather for tonight. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Hope Imaka. Pleasant viewing. Good night.